Section 16 of A Book of Fairy Tale Bears. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by April 6090, California, United States of America. A Book of Fairy Tale Bears by Clifton Johnson. Chapter 16. The Bees and the Bears. There was a time when the honey bees had no stings, and were as harmless as houseflies. They were just as industrious as they are now, but they had no end of trouble. They could not defend their honey from the many creatures that loved it, and stole it at every opportunity. In vain they hid their comb among the crannies of lofty cliffs, and far up in tall hollow trees. Birds with long beaks would suck out the honey, the squirrels were constantly stealing it, and worst of all, the bears were so clever in getting it, no matter where it was hidden, that very little escaped them. Whole swarms of bees often starved in the long winter because their store of food had been plundered. At last, when they had about given up hope that any of them could survive much longer, they heard that the great wizard Wakanda was traveling through the country. He had left his beautiful home at Spirit Lake, and was making this journey to help any who were in real distress. So the bees resolved to make known their woes to him. They sent messengers to meet him, and a present of delicious honey, which some of them had succeeded in keeping out of the way of their enemies. Wakanda received the messengers very graciously, enjoyed the honey, and listened with indignation to their tales of persecution. For a time he was uncertain how to help the industrious little creatures, and he asked them to return 3 days later, when he would announce just what he would do for them. The messengers went away greatly delighted, and told the news not only to their own people, but to their cousins, the wasps, hornets, and bumblebees. On the appointed day the bees were on hand, and so were their cousins. Wakanda regarded the latter rather suspiciously, but the bees commended them to him, and he gave them all a friendly welcome. Then he made a speech and praised the bees for their industry in gathering food during the summer to eat in the long cold winter. He ended by giving them the same sort of weapons that their cousins possessed. The bees presently flew away, and now they engaged in honey storing more earnestly than ever. Not long afterward a couple of bears, who were roaming through the forest, saw some of the bees going in and out of a knothole in a big tree. Up climbed the bears with saucy assurance, expecting to put their paws into the hole and pull out the sweet treasure. But before they had reached their goal, the bees came forth in great numbers and attacked them. The little creatures did not fly around now in a helpless panic as they did formerly, but at once attacked their enemies. They stung the marauders about their eyes and lips, and wherever else they could reach them, with their terrible new weapons. The bears could not comprehend this unforeseen ability of the bees to fight. They tried to climb higher, but all the time the insects returning from gathering honey increased the number of their assailants. At length the bears, howling with rage and terror, gave up their effort, scrambled back to the ground, and ran away. Other swarms served the enemies who would rob them in the same way. They were not always equally successful in defending their honey stores, but never since has there been any danger that the bees would all perish for lack of food. End of section 16.